Hello and welcome to the final episode of our anniversary special of Around the Verse. It's been pretty awesome to take a look at the ships over the past week, and it shows that Star Citizen is really gaining an impressive fleet of ships. I'm Sandi Gardiner.
And I'm Chris Roberts. Yes, it is an impressive fleet of ships we're building. Last but not least of our manufacturer lineup is none other than the infamous Drake Interplanetary. While they make a wide range of rugged and affordable vehicles like the Caterpillar and the Herald, there's no denying the fact that they are best known for making the vehicles of choice for those interested in, let's say, skirting the law or outright defying it. Equally popular amongst outlaws and security forces, ships like the Cutlass, Buccaneer, and Dragonfly are prized for their ease of use, adaptability, and low operating costs. While critics sometimes accuse Drake of courting criminal elements with their marketing efforts, Drake prefers to draw attention to all the lives saved thanks to their rescue and support ships like the Cutlass Red and Blue.
Let's check in with Jared for ship shape to highlight the redesign of the Cutlass Black. Ship shape.
Drake Interplanetary. Ships that aren't made for bad people, they're just used that way. If Origin is the sleek, refined future those with style aspire to, then Drake is the versatile, functional present day that gets the job done, and done economically. In Star Citizen today, you can already fly the massive Caterpillar, the powerful Buccaneer, or the incredibly fast Herald. With the upcoming Alpha 3.0, Drake's offerings expand with the addition of Star Citizen's original space bike, the Dragonfly, and the newly revamped signature Drake contribution, the Cutlass Black. Let's check in with the team that's been working on the revamped Cutlass.
From when the Cutlass first went flyable, because I was still a backer then, so I want to say it was mid to late 2014 to where we're at now at the end of 2017, the technology to create the ships and to deliver things has just continued to improve. One of the biggest changes alone was the update to physical-based rendering, which gave us the much cooler looking damage shaders that you see on a lot of our ships now. And so getting the Cutlass up to line with that, this was just part of that same process, but now we were able to take the chance and really look at the ship and say, okay, what aren't we happy with? What may not have fired off exactly how we wanted it to? What's not living up to potential with this ship? And really, drill down on those issues and find the best possible solution. And so for the Cutlass, that basically ended up going from one ship to two ships, where some of the aspects that we weren't going to keep in the Cutlass, we moved over to the Buccaneer. But then we were able to really double down on what the Cutlass did. So before it had a pair of missile racks, now it's got 6. Those 6 missile racks are all larger size than they were before. We gave it an additional gun, we gave it a lot more just size and mass, so it really feels like a durable ship that can go pick a fight if it needs to, or run from a fight if it needs to.
Cutlass had one go around. Since that time, we've had a lot more systems come online, a lot of really important systems. The old Cutlass was made pre-new damage system. The old Cutlass was made before Item 2.0. It was made before Smart Normals, which is a modeling term that we use that helps us make ships higher res, more detail, with using less geometries. I think we had new animation states, interactive elements, and overall the ship wasn't fitting certain metrics that animation needs and the game needs to be proper for the ship.
So for what we pared down on the old Cutlass was more some of the descriptions that it had, where it was like a serious fighter craft competitor. And that was one of its biggest contentions, where how do you take something that is supposed to be a meaningful threat to raid and pillage a cargo carrying ship, but then also say, well, it's supposed to be able to go and fight a Super Hornet. It's supposed to be able to go and fight a Saber. Unfortunately, a lot of those things don't really line up when you have to start, planning things out for long term, making sure you have a sensible balance to things. And so a lot of that ended up into the Buccaneer, where that ship was made, okay, this thing is from the ground up, it's made to be a competitor to the Super Hornet, it's made to be a competitor to the Saber, but in a different aspect. And that way we were still able to retain a lot of that intention that, hey, Drake has a ship out there that can, it can kick the ass of other fighters just as well, but without putting all of that burden just onto the Cutlass itself and letting the Cutlass really shine as this, militia raiding support ship that can just fly in, beat someone up, take some cargo, drop some troops off, get in, get out, do its job. The biggest challenges that we faced when we were doing this rework is really picking and choosing what about the old Cutlass that we liked and wanted to reinforce with the rework, and the different aspects that we weren't happy with, either in its implementation or what it had initially been built to do.
So it's a smidge bit bigger. It's a lot more aggressive looking. The older version was a lot more thin at the joints. It's got a more appealing silhouette. It's got a lot more aggressive silhouette now that will translate over the variants a lot better now. We did a couple of meetings on the Cutlass before getting into the rework. Actually got on the forums on a couple of different spots and was just reading through what the Cutlass fans had to say about the Cutlass, and just started taking things, and a lot of common things kept coming up over and over again. So I let that influence me too. I know this ship is loved by a lot of people, and when the ship's already out there, unlike the Herald, when the ship's already out there, it has an already fan base, people already have this ship, and I want to make them happy and give them a little bit extra in the process. Stuff that came up in the forums was those little swivel thrusters on the side were definitely, like, people were making jokes about that, like, it's garbage, rotating garbage cans. A lot of great suggestions, like about weaponry, about the cockpit. Big one, which was, we already knew about this in-house, but a lot of people brought this up, and that was the way the cockpit functioned. So you had your pilot, your co-pilot, and they sat much like in a jet fighter, pilot in the front, co-pilot in the back. But however, in the Cutlass, because of the size limitations, the entire assembly was off to the left-hand side. And then when everybody's in their seat, it aligns to the middle. Now that presents a lot of problems when it comes to a game. If I'm the pilot and the co-pilot wants to get out, it starts creating issues, or if there's blocker issues now. So I knew that needed to be addressed. So that got addressed.
We reworked the style and positioning on all of its maneuvering thrusters, going away from articulated gimbaled thrusters that on the old model looked kind of flappy and never really lined up, to a much more evenly distributed fixed thruster layout. So now the ship has immediate force on every single axis it could want for turning, strafing, pitching, rolling, whatever it needs to do. It will have that force there available, but also it won't have to worry about, oh, I've lost a thruster. I've just lost 50% of my maneuverability. No, you could lose a wing and you still won't lose 50% of your maneuvering to any one axis along the ship.
Drake Cutlass fans are pretty adamant about, like, the role of the ship and how it works and what it's used for. Before I'm doing a redo, just to make sure I'm on the right track. I'm on track in-house, and I'm on track with expectations on the outside. So fans are really good about sending me just inspirational stuff. They'd send me, like, material reference or, like, diagrams on certain things. And I actually used quite a bit of reference material sent to me.
So overall, the rework Cutlass should feel like a lot more of what you already had with the Cutlass. The biggest difference will probably be its handling. So just the extra weapons, extra thruster or maneuvering thrusters along the ship, the side doors, extra seating, a lot of that is there to make sure that when the Cutlass has a job to do, it knows it can do it well. Especially because of all the artwork that Josh Coons did for rebuilding this ship, it just looks so much better than it did before, where it sells the original concept art. It feels like that intimidating kind of a pirate craft. You don't look at it anymore and think, oh, well, that wing kind of looks brittle. that landing gear doesn't look stable. It's like, no, this thing is built to take some hits, to take some punishment, and it just sells itself almost in terms of its visual and design. So I'm really excited to get that out there and also see just how it starts to shake things up with our other ships, to see how freelancer pilots are now going to be contending with this Cutlass, where, hey, here's a lot more missiles coming at you from this threat before, how Constellation pilots, Retaliator pilots, how anyone who enjoys a different, larger scale ship is now going to have to react and contend with, well, here's something with a lot more teeth on it. Be ready for that. Outlaws like Drake. And part of that is, Drake makes a bit more no frills, cover your own ass type ships.
The history behind that ship is, this takes me back to me being a World War II nerd. So this company, Drake, had put a ship design up for possible, mass production manufacturer for being, a mainstream fighter. But it didn't do so well on the tests, so it still got made anyway, and some nefarious entities acquired it, knowing what it could do. So it's favored as being a bad guy ship, but also some other entities like police and search rescue also picked up. It's where you get the blue and the red variants from. So it's kind of like a jack of all trades type ship, and I kept that in mind. So now that we have the planet stuff out, we had to switch. This is another system that wasn't in there. It's the actual suspension systems that we put on the ships now, where if you land on an uneven surface on a planet, now the ship will actually land and it will actually sit correctly. So now we have a bigger back ramp, which has to adhere to that rule too, the suspension rule. That's a new feature. That one came up on the forums a lot. As far as entrance and exit, they wanted it bigger for cargo. I think this got thrown out there a few times. It was like, can we have a bike in there? And I just kind of put it in there. The metrics were good. So yeah, totally possible. A lot more cargo space now. You got the 2 sliding doors as a new addition onto the Cutlass Black. Those will also be on the blue and the red. And we're still getting good ideas from the community and in-house about other possible things we could do, like side-mounted guns, where you open the door on the side and you start firing out the side. And that one got me really excited. The cockpit now, the canopy, you can jettison the canopy. Unlike the other ships, this is Drake we're talking about, so it's a little bit more stripped down. So when you jettison in a Drake, it's more Top Gun. So, and when I say Top Gun, I mean like when it malfunctions. So you hit the top and the top comes off, but you got to get out of the seat yourself. You don't have all the fancy bells and whistles that the other ships have, which I think will probably make for some really funny footage in the future, which is situational type stuff with that type feature. Living quarters, you've got sections of the ship now for the Cutlass. You've got the cockpit, you've got the living quarters, and then it's sectioned off from the business part, which, depending on your variant, is either cargo storage, stealing stuff, rescuing people, apprehending people. So you've got it makes more sense in terms of structural, the way the ship would be laid out, instead of just one big long room and then a cockpit.
So now we're making sure that, okay, this ship can raid other ships, it needs to be able to attack something, capture some cargo from it, probably deploy some troops somewhere. So we're going to make sure it can absolutely do that. So it's got the jump seats it needs, it has the clearance it needs size-wise to make sure that players aren't, crouching or going through weird angles just to get in and out of a ship. You don't have to worry about getting stuck on weird, side doors in an off angle by the cockpit, or a one person through at a time enter or exit ramp in the back. We've made it far more accommodating to be sure. It's like, okay, you need to deploy people out, pop the side doors open, drop the rear ramp, dump everybody out of the ship, get them out as fast as possible. Need to load people back up, pile them in the ramp. Are you, in EVA, you can pop the side doors and let them in now, as opposed to having all these sort of awkward access points.
Other studios, the fans will never even know what you're working on until the hype train starts, which is 11, 12 months out before the game ships. But out here at CIG, we allow the fans to tour, and we show them what we're doing all the time. And as like an artist, being able to show and interact and talk and get feedback is like super invaluable, and it's gratifying. Instead of getting it all at once when you ship a game, you get it the entire time, which is super cool.
I've flown the Cutlass Black in Alpha 3.0, both behind closed doors and live from the show floor at Gamescom 2017. And let me tell you, the wait has been worth it. The Cutlass Black, like most ships coming in Alpha 3.0, is in the final prep phase, where teams are putting the finishing touches on all that will allow this spaceship to fulfill its intended role in the Star Citizen universe. With that, the last of our new Ship Shape episodes comes to a close. I hope you've enjoyed the new format and the updated look at how these ships move through the ship pipeline. Remember, if you haven't already, you can take the UEE Observer test currently up on the RSI website for your chance to win a brand new bounty hunting ship, the Anvil Hawk. It's no purchase necessary, and the full rules are there for those of you who are interested. For Ship Shape, I'm Community Content Manager Jared Huckabee, and I'll be right back after the end of this show with a brand new happy hour interview where we're going to discuss all the options for our next ship in Drake's lineup. And you can vote on which one of them actually becomes a reality, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. Back to you, Chris and Sandy.
Make sure to head to the website to find out more on all the Drake ships that have made their way back to the store, and while you're there, pick up a Dragonfly poster set or any other merchandise on sale until December 4th.
Yeah, although that was the last of our special anniversary ship shapes, that celebration isn't over yet. Immediately after this show, join Happy Hour, where we're going to work with you, the community, to figure out the next Drake ship to add to Star Citizen.
Your ongoing input and support is something that has really helped Star Citizen get to where we are, so it seemed like a natural progression.
Yeah, it definitely was. That brings this special series to a close, but ATV will be back to its regular time next week.
A big thank you to all of our backers and subscribers for all they do to help the game's development.
Yes, thank you very, very much.
We will see you
We will.
around the verse. Ready?
Yeah.
8 heralds running, 7 halcyons hauling, 6 constellations, 5 pioneers, 4 890 jumps, 3 tumbrels, 2 hammerheads, and a hawk in a pear tree.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.